Alright, let's start with a foam roller. You guys can use either a softball or lacrosse ball as well for this. Today we're going to work on hip rotation, both internally and externally. So we're going to first start by just grabbing a foam roller, whatever tool or object you guys are using, and start to roll out the glutes. So whatever side you guys are starting on, I want that leg to be crossed over the opposite knee. Just as we're doing here, just kind of rolling up and down, side to side. And just like any other time that we're doing soft tissue, the focus needs to be on the tender areas, right? So once you guys find these spots that feel more sensitive, those are the spots I want you to work on. And then just nice and easy, same thing, we're always focusing on our breath, rolling around, and try to think about anytime you're doing this kind of passive application, that you're just rolling around trying to find the sensitive areas. Once you find that area that is more sensitive, you don't necessarily need to move around so much. Sometimes you can just keep the foam roller there. You can breathe into it. You can start to move the muscle or leg around. All right, let's switch sides. We'll do the exact same thing here. Good, side to side. One thing also to pay attention to as you guys are doing this is sometimes the right and the left don't feel the exact same. You might have more sensitivity on, the dominant side or whatever. So one of the biggest things to pay attention to is when you do have that asymmetry and that imbalance, don't be afraid to spend a little extra time on those sides that do feel more tender, that do feel tighter, that do feel stiffer. Because that asymmetry, unfortunately, over time is going to make these imbalances worse. So when you guys are doing any of your mobility or maintenance work, always pay attention to that. If your arm starts to get tired here, you want to maybe work a little bit higher up on like the glute medius and stuff like that. You can drop down to your elbow, right? And then kind of work a little bit more of that superior side of the glute. Alright, so now what I want you guys to do, take whatever object, foam roller, whatever you're using. Now we're going to work on them in the adductors on the inner thigh. Just as we are here, we have one leg up at 90 degrees, completely abducted, right? We're just kind of rolling side to side. So I'm working all the way from the knee joint, all the way as close as I can to the hip. And also pay attention to, sometimes you get more sensitivity towards the knee, which I do. Sometimes it's a little bit closer to the hip. So as you're doing this, once again, everyone is a little bit different. Try to find where that sensitivity is, and once you get there, spend time there, roll back and forth, oscillate, move a few inches at a time. It doesn't need to be these huge rolls side to side. Once you find that area, I want you to work that in. Same thing, focusing on your breath. Good, great job. Good, let's switch sides. We'll do the exact same thing on the opposite leg. Good. And as we always talk about, remember, there's no wrong way to do any soft tissue work. So you guys can go side to side in circles, long ways, short ways. You're just kind of searching around, and once you find those areas that feel sensitive to you, I want you to work them in as many different directions as you can. Think about the fascial systems in the body. They don't run always in the same line, so don't be afraid to switch up how you apply it. Good, nice and easy. Do not forget your breath. Your breath is your most important tool when you're doing mobility. Alright, let's throw that foam roller to the side. Now what I want you guys to do is we're going to sit nice and upright. Right? We're going to plant these feet, and we're going to start to work on some 90-90 work. So 90-90 is going to have one leg out in front of you, so that knee directly in front of your chest, 90 degrees at the front knee, and then also 90 degrees at your back knee. Right? So if you look at how your body position is, the knees are at 90 degrees, right? So I'm trying to keep my body and my torso, my spine, everything nice and tall and long. And we'll do the exact same thing on the opposite side. So we're just going to start nice and easy for now, just kind of working in as best we can, not forcing this. And as always, right, pay attention to the imbalances and the asymmetries. Sometimes your left side is going to feel very different than your right side does. Good. Just hold that position, stay tall, try to lean forward as best you can. the way forward, open it up, we'll go back to the left side, just nice and dynamic, side to side. Good. Flex, but don't flex to the back, flex through your hips. Alright, now we're going to work a little bit more in some active work positions. So what I want you guys to do is you're going to try to think about pushing your whole shin, your knee, your foot into the ground as hard as you can. Good. And then pulling forward and relaxing, right? So these are called tails and rails. We're working both on the progressive and the progressive, the regressive side of this. So what we're doing is we're pushing into the floor as hard as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then nice and easy, I'm relaxing and I'm engaging the opposite muscle. I'm thinking about pulling myself forward. So let's switch sides. We'll start this over on the other side. So what I want you to do is you're going to push down into the ground through the knee, the shin, and the foot, maybe about 20 to 30%, 5 seconds, and then I want you to relax and pull your torso forward a little bit more. Then you're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax, pull yourself forward even more. Good. So as you're pushing into the ground. As you're relaxing, you're trying to pull your torso forward. Right? So we're getting engagement, we're getting activation from both sides. We're getting that back of that hip capsule and also kind of the anterior and the interior side also of the thigh and the adductors, right? So let's go back to the other side. If you're feeling good and you're feeling mobile, you can start to lift the hands off the floor. And we'll do the exact same thing here. So we're going to push into the ground, pull, right? And switch sides. Good. Same thing. If you can do it without your hands, try to. If you need your hands, you're more than welcome to keep them on the floor. Do what's best fit for your range of motion. Do what's best fit for your comfortability. This is something that you guys, every time that you come back to this video, that we can start to begin to work on to see how these progressions are taking place. You know, you might feel really, really tight this week, but over the next few weeks, things will start to get better. So now what we're doing is we're adding the internal rotation of the back leg components. What you guys are doing is you're lifting that back leg as far as you actively can while leaning forward. And if you even want to become a little bit more passive, you can start to pull on that back foot. You're not pulling it towards the body, you're pulling it forward like you're trying to internally rotate that hip. So you guys can play around with both active and passive here. We're just trying to explore these rotations of the hip. So same thing, lift the back leg on the opposite side, lift, 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 lift as hard as you can actively. Now I want you to pull it in by yourself. And you can start to do lift off. So an easy way to kind of play around in these positions is you can start to lift that foot off the floor with your hand and then try to lift it as far as you can passively and then try to let go with your hand and try to keep the foot in the same position. It's not an easy skill. Alright, so now we're going to go down to a frog position. So what I want you guys to do is you're going to get down to your knees. With your knees, you're going to go as wide as they can comfortably with the inside of your feet facing down to the floor. And you're going to drive those hips back, right? So you're almost thinking like you're driving your hips back like you're doing a squat. So you're going to feel a lot of the tension on the inside of the leg. You're going to feel a lot of tension into the hips, right? And you're going back as far as you can comfortably go, right? And the most important piece, as always, is going to be your breath here. So once you get to kind of to that end range, deep inhales. 3-4 seconds in. 4 or 5 seconds out, right? These exhales, you should feel with your breath, your body becoming more comfortable, your body feeling like the hips are opening up, the inside of the thigh muscles are relaxing even a little bit more. Your breath is what's going to control this level of tension. Good. Great job, guys. Nice and slow, focus on your breathing. Sometimes the easiest thing to do with your breath is just to focus on the count. Count in your head. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count the inhales. Count the hold even. Count the exhales. Right? Get your body to pay attention to the breath so your body can relax in the position that you are in. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to work a little bit more on the groin. So you're going to keep the knees and the feet in the same position. But now you're going to get up to your hands. Instead of the hips being all the way back, now we're actually going to try to drive the hips forward. So now our hips are actually above where our knees are. And we're trying to squeeze our butt. Almost like you're trying to hump the floor, right? But you're trying to push that hip as far forward into extension as you can. This is a little bit more sensitive for most people. This is going to be kind of the inner upper thigh, more towards the actual hips themselves. And this is the groin now that we're opening up. Like I said, we're squeezing that butt, trying to drive forward. Do not force it into pain, right? We're stretching for tightness, never for pain. We're trying to use our breath once we do find that end range to help slow ourselves down a little bit. Good. Keep the spine tall and long. Good job, guys. Okay, good. Let's get out of that position, kind of rock back, open those hips a little bit. What we're going to do to finish up is we're going to go right into a pigeon pose, right? So pigeon pose, depending on how mobile you are, ideally we would love the foot and the knee to be straight across, perpendicular to the body. But it's okay if it's not all the way there, right? And what you guys are trying to do is get that front foot and that front knee out as far in the body as you can, and then take the back leg that's extended behind you. Try to extend that straight behind you, and then all you're going to do is you're going to try to think about almost like I'm rotating my torso into that front leg. So if my left leg's out in front as is, I'm rotating my torso into that left hip capsule, right? And once again, we're not forcing anything here. We're trying to give a little extra active activation, right, to help kind of contribute a little bit more for the musculature itself. Go ahead and open up, lean, and every time you're forcing into a deeper range, try to use that breath to help kind of facilitate that. Good. And what I want you guys to do, switch sides. Last one on this one. Go right leg forward. Same thing. You can even use your hand to kind of pin the foot down and try to get that foot and that shin to almost be as perpendicular to your torso as possible. Right? Pull the back leg back so you have tension in the back of the glutes and the back of the hips. Just like we did with the other side, start to rotate into that leg. So right leg's out in front, right torso starts to corkscrew into that hip. Good. Try to breathe. Right? It's a little bit harder with this active work to really focus on the breath, but this is really where the game changer's at. Focus on that breath. Focus on trying to get to deeper ranges. End range is obviously going to be the most uncomfortable and the hardest range to work on. But open up that hip capsule as best we can. This active application is awesome because we start to get this muscle engagement at these ranges as well. Good. Alright guys, great job today. Have a good rest of your day.